Police say they are considering a new Partygate video as the government apologises. Footage appears to show Tory staff celebrating together despite COVID-era restrictions. A senior minister admits it's terrible, and bereaved families say it only adds to their pain.
I can't even use a word that describes. Angry isn't the word, even furious isn't the word, but the way it made me feel, I was sick to my stomach.
Also tonight, Nicola Sturgeon insists she's done nothing wrong as she returns home for the first time since her arrest and release. The Prince on a mission to end homelessness. William says Duchy of Cornwall land could be used for social housing and...
Oh my God! Oh, I didn't know they were here.
A Father's Day surprise for Andy Murray as he secures back-to-back titles in the build-up to Wimbledon.
This is ITV News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good evening. The Met Police say they are considering footage which appears to show a Christmas party at Conservative campaign headquarters during the COVID pandemic in 2020. At a time when millions were facing festivities apart, staff were seen dancing, drinking and even laughing about lockdown rules. Another uncomfortable leak for the government, which today prompted an apology from Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove. With the latest, here's our political correspondent, Carl Dinham.
It wasn't just a quiet glass of wine. The first video to emerge of a Partygate event shows something altogether more raucous, and participants who knew that what they were doing was wrong.
As long as we don't scream it,
But they weren't bending the rules, they were dancing all over them.
The first thing I want to say is to apologise to everyone who will have seen this video for what went on. And we knew that there was an event at Conservative campaign headquarters that was held by people who were involved in the Sean Bailey mayoral campaign. There was an investigation, disciplinary action was taken, but these images, they're just terrible. So I do want to apologise.
What makes this party a live issue again is that two people who attended, Sean Bailey and Ben Hallett, have just been awarded honours in Boris Johnson's resignation honours list. The opposition say the Prime Minister, who approved the list, should intervene.
What was your reaction, your gut reaction, when you saw that video?
It's disgusting, it's infuriating, it's shocking, it will enrage people across our country. And I think there's a real test now of leadership and character for Rishi Sunak. Is he too weak now to take the meaningful action to withdraw this honours list from Boris Johnson?
All this, of course, as other people were being prevented from seeing dying relatives. Jane Roach lost her sister and her dad. This is now a particularly painful Father's Day.
So when I saw it, it really enraged me. I can't even use a word that describes. Angry isn't the word, even furious isn't the word, but the way it made me feel, I was sick to my stomach.
The Metropolitan Police investigated this party when it first came to light, but took no action. Today, the police said they are now considering the new footage.
And Carl is here. Carl, the Conservatives may have hoped to draw a line under Partygate, especially on the eve of tomorrow's vote about Boris Johnson.
That's right. Tomorrow afternoon, MPs will briefly debate and then vote on the Privileges Committee report condemning Boris Johnson for lying to Parliament about the parties that went on in number 10. Not this one, but the number 10 ones. Now, the Conservatives are giving their MPs a free vote. They won't instruct them which way to vote. So it will be interesting to see which way, for example, the Prime Minister and other ministers choose to vote on this, and how many Conservative MPs duck the decision altogether and abstain. Michael Gove, for example, told us today that he will abstain because although he thinks it is a good report, he believes that the scale of the punishment is wrong, and so he is going to duck it, abstain. But of course, the opposition will say that anyone who abstains isn't able to tell the difference between whether it's right or wrong to lie to Parliament. So there are no easy answers for the Tories on this.
Yeah, and all of this isn't the end to the party's problems, is it?
No, indeed not. There's been another resignation. This is David Warburton, the Somerton and Frome MP, his seat down in Somerset. He's been under investigation for a number of allegations. Now, he admits some of them. He admits, for example, taking cocaine, but he denies sexual harassment. He says he hasn't been able to defend himself properly, and that's why he's having to quit. This will be the fourth by-election that the government now faces, with Nadine Dorries, Boris Johnson and Nigel Adams, and yet another one that Rishi Sunak could do without.
Yeah, definitely. Carl, thank you. Nicola Sturgeon has insisted she's done nothing wrong as she was seen for the first time since her arrest. The former First Minister of Scotland was questioned by police investigating SNP finances but was released without charge a week ago pending further investigation. Our Scotland correspondent Peter Smith is in Glasgow tonight. Peter, why has Ms Sturgeon spoken now?
Well, the former First Minister has been hiding out at an unknown location for a week now. Eventually, she had to come home. Today was the day. She'd been arrested and questioned for 7 hours as a suspect in connection with its ongoing investigation, and she was released without charge pending further investigation. So she was limited in what she could say, but when she spoke to the assembled journalists, she told us again, "I've done nothing wrong."
I can't say very much just now. What I will say is reiterate the statement I issued last Sunday. I am certain that I have done nothing wrong. I intend to be back in Parliament in the early part of the week. I'll make myself available for questions then, obviously within the constraints that I am referring to right now.
Now again, Nicola Sturgeon asserting that she is innocent. Of course, this is part of an ongoing police investigation, and the police are still looking at funds that have been raised for an independence fundraiser and where that money went to. Nicola Sturgeon has been questioned, released without charge, but the damage has already been done in terms of the public image of this. Nicola Sturgeon's own approval ratings have dropped into the negatives for the first ever time in her political career. And also we're starting to see in the first a panel-based poll conducted for the Sunday Times, this is starting to damage her party, the SNP. They've now started to drop away, and Labour, projections are Labour would overtake them at the next election. Now that is a hugely significant shift in the Scottish political landscape, and it is after the arrest of Nicola Sturgeon last week that this change has started to happen. And this is putting pressure now on her successor, Humza Yousaf. Nicola Sturgeon says she's not going to step down. She was asked today, will you resign? Will you step back at least temporarily while the investigation's ongoing? Again, she says, I've done nothing wrong. But Humza Yousaf can see that this is causing damage to his party, and he may be asking her to reconsider that.
All right, Peter in Glasgow, thank you. The US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has begun 2 days of talks in Beijing as part of efforts to reset American relations with China. Meetings kicked off with the Chinese Foreign Minister, Qin Gang, earlier, and more talks are scheduled with other officials. Mr Blinken is the highest-level American to visit the country since President Biden took office. The trip was postponed from February when a Chinese surveillance balloon was shot down over the US. Services and vigils have been held today to remember the 3 victims of this week's violence in Nottingham. University students Barnaby Webber and Grace O'Malley Kumar, along with school caretaker Ian Coates, were found stabbed to death in Nottingham city centre in the early hours of Tuesday morning. At Barnaby's old cricket club, his friends and family reflected and thanked those who'd come to celebrate their son's life.
We've had enormous support from all the people in Nottingham, and it's been hugely appreciated. But these are his faces, these are his people. What we need to do is recognise Barnaby, we need to recognise Grace, and we need to recognise Ian.
Prince William has insisted the challenge of homelessness is not insurmountable as he revealed he's working on plans for social housing on his land. The Prince of Wales controls the vast Duchy of Cornwall estate, previously managed by his father, and he suggested in a newspaper interview today a new direction for part of the property empire. More from our correspondent Rebecca Barry.
This moment, says the future king, left a deep and lasting impression on him when his mother first took him to a homeless shelter as a child. No wonder then, in his first interview as heir to the throne, Prince William reveals ending homelessness is his mission. He told the Sunday Times his project will be announced later this month. It's nerve-wracking, but I'm really excited. I've been waiting for the right time to do this. It's all very well doing big gestures, but there's no point if there's no future to it.
I'm starting to think about how I will inherit the duchy one day and what I do.
In his new role as Prince of Wales, he now controls the Duchy of Cornwall, a huge private estate scattered across southern England and Wales. William says he has plans to use some of the land for social housing. He's even discussed it with the Housing Secretary.
The idea that we should have more social housing, more housing for affordable rent on the land that the Prince is responsible for, I think is brilliant.
I feel very closely linked to centre points.
Prince William has long supported homeless charities, following in the footsteps of his late mother. In 2009, he even slept rough for a night in central London, and last year was spotted selling copies of The Big Issue. He says he wants his children to see reality beyond the pomp and pageantry of royal life, insisting they will definitely be exposed to homelessness.
Having an institution of such wealth and privilege, that is increasingly difficult to justify. And therefore, the best argument for the monarchy to survive is for it really to start to do stuff, perhaps even give up some of its wealth and land, to put its money where its mouth is, quite literally.
Scaling it up across the UK, that's the big aim.
Recently, the focus has been on royal family rifts. Now Prince William is clearly determined to set out his stall as king-to-be and continue his mother's legacy. Rebecca Barry, ITV News.
On to sport, and in cricket, England managed a 7-run first innings lead after another topsy-turvy day at the Ashes, but rain stopped play with the home side in a spot of trouble in their second innings. They reached 28 for 2, a lead of 35, when the weather forced an early finish. Chris Scudder was watching.
A test match swinging back and forth. Australia's fight back was halted by a fired-up bowling attack. England's new bold and carefree approach even brought inventive, eccentric field placings.
Have you ever seen a field like that?
It had the desired effect. Khawaja out for 141 to Ollie Robinson. And once the mainstay was gone, England took the final 4 wickets for 14 runs and a 7-run first innings lead. But if they thought, may the force be with you, a fancy-dressed Darth Vader and dark skies then brought gloom and trouble for England.
Now, is that carried? I think it has. It's
Ben Duckett caught spectacularly by Cameron Green. Then 3 balls later, it never rains, it pours. Zach Crawley was gone too. Saved by the weather, not just yet, but England were glad to be running for cover. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
Now to a touching moment this Father's Day with some unexpected visitors for Sir Andy Murray at the Nottingham Open. To his surprise, his little ones were there proudly cheering on their dad, who wasn't the only Brit to secure silverware today. Neil Connery reports.
Victory for Andy Murray at the Nottingham Open, giving him the perfect start to summer. The 3-time Grand Slam winner savouring his success after beating Arthur Cazot 6-4, 6-4. Now 36 with a metal hip, this year marks a decade since his first Wimbledon win. It's 7 years since his last grass title. As he gave his post-match interview, he talked of his hopes of celebrating with his family.
Hopefully I'll get back home tonight, see my kids for Father's Day. Oh my God!
He was left stunned seeing his wife and children in the crowd, delivering an even more perfect Father's Day present.
I had no idea they were coming.
It's been a good day for British tennis. Katie Boulter and Jodie Burrage reaching the WTA final in a career first for both. Boulter, who was British #1 going into this match, pulled off her first major tournament win, beating Burrage 6-3, 6-3. With Wimbledon just 2 weeks away, it's looking good for Britain's top tennis talent. Neil Connery, ITV News.
Oh, very good day for British tennis. And that is all for now. I'll be back with the late news at 10. Until then, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye for now.
First thing today will be lovely and warm, and by breakfast time, it could be on the sunny side. Heinz tomato ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good evening to you. Staying humid, warm and thundery for the time being. We have a warning out for frequent, widespread, intense downpours cropping up almost anywhere in the next few hours, giving torrential bursts of rain in places. An awful lot of rain falling in a short space of time, and that wet weather, sometimes thundery, will be working its way northwards as we head through this evening and tonight, stalling for a time across northern England and Scotland to give some high rainfall totals here. Some misty low cloud forming across the northwest, and that heavy thundery rain doing little to clear the air, staying stuffy, muggy and mild overnight. Temperatures not slipping much below 15 or 16 degrees and staying humid and muggy into the new day. The overnight rain taking a while to clear from northern Scotland. Otherwise, some decent sunshine before scattered showers, some of these intense and thundery once more through the afternoon. Highs of 25 or 26 degrees with a humid air with a little more sunshine than today.
Heinz tomato ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.